Especially if you want to create comics or even amazing stories, you should read Bakuman. This amazing Japanese comic, or manga as it's generally called, it is a collab work. The story is written by Tsukumi Oba and the art is made by Takeshi Obata. This book is fascinating from the start because, number 0, it talks to all of us. It starts with a normal average kid. He says he's not going to be special, just another guy in a cubicle at an office. A dull school life for years. His name is Mashiro Moritaka. He is normal, he likes video games, he suffers from not having the courage to confess his feelings to the girl he likes, and he has given up in the dream that makes him special, which is art. Then something happens. He meets Takagi Akito, who proposes to him that they join forces at the age of 14 to create manga, a Japanese comic, something amazing to impact the world. Mashiro seems more down to earth, realistic even. He has all the statistics of how difficult it would be to impact the world really with a manga. These creators are talking to you and me, to all of us, especially if we have this dream that we really want to make, and in some time in our journey we feel like that's not possible and we should just be content with the normal life that we can follow, and how something may happen and you have the opportunity to work on your dream. Would you do it? So we can learn many things from this series about your comics, or even how Japanese comics work and how can you implement them. But it's also very interesting. Number 1. How to know if a Japanese comic is going to be successful. Quote, manga just needs to be interesting. What this means is that in a manga, or basically in a comic, the story is the most important thing. If you have a weak story, even though you have amazing artwork, it's probably not going to work as a comic, and you better go off to do just illustrations, you know, because that's the essence of a comic, it's the story. And this has been proven many times. If the story is good, the manga is going to succeed. Number 2. The process to make manga. To do manga, they usually have to come up first with a name or a storyboard or thumbnails, whatever you want to call it, which is basically a rough draft of how the chapter of the comic is going to look like. And in story, that was the job of Akito, the writer. Both the artist and the writer have to keep redrawing the storyboard until the editor says it's okay. Of course, only published authors can send only their storyboard. If you were a noob in Japan, you would have to take a manuscript already finished so they can see if you have potential or not. Number 3. How many pages do they create per week? Manga is usually published in monthly magazines or weekly magazines. And in this case, our MCs or main characters have to create one chapter of their manga each week while still going to high school. And this is something that real life, some Japanese people in real life accomplish. And this really blows my mind because I can barely make 2 pages a week. Number 4. What happens if there are little readers to your story in that weekly magazine? That if you were popular at once but you have little and less and less and less audience, well, then the story gets cut off. They will literally tell you something like, hey, your story is not working for our magazine, so you have around, they give you a certain period of time, like they will tell you something like you have 3 weeks to end it in a way that you find suitable for your story. And just like that, if you were planning to have like 30 chapters of that story, that's not going to be possible anymore because nobody is going to read it and the magazine is not going to wait for you. Like, that's how the business works. Even somewhere in this book, Bakuman, the author of that note said that if he stopped working for around 5 years, he would probably starve to death. So this is how the business works. Number 5. Work ethic. There are 2 characters, which are the writer and Mashiro, but Mashiro is basically the main character and he is the artist. And something that I love about him is that because he's more realistic, he knows how difficult the journey will be in accomplishing his dreams. So when he decides to go into manga, into creating his comics, he goes full in. He works super hard as he can to accomplish his dream, and he has many obstacles on the way. Of course, he has to put love on weight, which I think it's something to be admired. Maybe he has to learn to take care of his mental and physical health, his rivals, etc. Number 6. As I said, Mashiro does the art and Takagi does the story. That has some good points and bad ones, as any partnership. In this case, teamwork is what makes them great, but also have to work some things out. For example, Takagi, the writer, finishes things faster. They don't say it out loud, but yes, it happens, especially when Takagi only does the script and Mashiro and his assistants do all the rest. There's a point in the comic in which that starts happening because it works better for the artist to only do all the art part and the writer only do the lettering part. And to be honest, without the writing, the comic wouldn't exist. A writer is essential for a comic to work, but the art does take more time. A problem with this is Mashiro is used to working harder, and as a result, Takagi is a little tiny less focused than him. Takagi Akito, the writer, is amazing, but he does lose track of the goal in a couple of times, especially because of his demanding girlfriend. We can learn from this because it is very understandable. We have relationships and it's natural that we want to spend our time with our significant other. Comics require so much time, especially if you're doing a chapter a week. So they have to figure out a solution to work their love interests, and that's another reason why you should read it. Number 7. What divides a successful manga from a non-successful? The longer the series, the more successful. That's why manga like One Piece, Naruto, and manga like that are very successful, because they haven't get cancelled. It is natural for them to continue running as much as they can. In case you do not know this, is that maybe you have seen anime, which are literally animated series of manga. And what happens is that if a manga or short novel or video game is successful enough and has enough fans, they make an anime. So if you have ever wondered why they don't make some mangas into anime, is because probably they do not have a lot of readership, or there are some other reasons, like the art style is not as consistent or easy to make into animation and stuff like that. You will know many more of these things like reading this manga, and I really recommend it. The things about editors, many things that I cannot mention in just one video because it would be very long. But yeah, there are many reasons why you should read Bakuman rather than the anime, because as you can see, the art is really flawless and there are art details that they cannot include in a tight budget animation. If you want more of these topics, subscribe to this channel and of course read Bakuman. You can subscribe in that red button over there. Comment down below what you want to see about comics, creating stories, etc. And give it a thumbs up if you like this video. And yep, I'll see you in my next one. Bye!